So Sharon, what is your background in the game?
Well, to be honest, my background is I'm a simple mother. So I have two boys. They started playing when they were about 6 years of age in the community space. My husband was coach of the team. And we've just basically moved through the ranks of football. We've got one in the under-14s and one in the under-16s in the Football Queensland competition. Essentially I'm a supporter, a mother, an ex-manager, and now here I am.
And how did you get to become president of Holland Park Hawks?
I came on board in November 2017 when the club had just taken on the Football Queensland licence to go into the Football Queensland Premiership, and the club basically was at a position where the entire committee, previous committee, left, and so I stepped up to get involved, thinking that I have to put my money where my mouth is and get involved. So instead of complaining about things or asking about things, actually trying to get involved to find out the background of what was happening and why the club was making that decision.
How do you find it being a club president in what is predominantly a male environment?
To be honest, I've not had any issue in terms of don't feel like I've been treated any differently as a female versus a male. Possibly personally, I've felt a little bit intimidated at times because I haven't actually played football myself. I grew up in England, and at the time girls didn't play football. So sometimes, when we're talking about the specifics of a game, then I have felt somewhat intimidated. But in terms of how I've been treated by whether it be associations or other presidents or anybody really, I haven't had an issue at all. I think people embrace female presidents for the difference that they bring, perhaps maybe a little bit more empathy and sensitivity, and maybe less ego around past footballing experience, because I don't have any.
And what are the kind of challenges that you face in your role?
Many challenges. Probably the biggest challenge that we have is trying to do the work with the number of hours that we have to put in. We are a volunteer club. I'm a volunteer, and yet this is essentially turned into a full-time job. So the hours for the role is extremely demanding, and with the Football Brisbane and Football Queensland competitions that we run from this club, it's become a 12-month position. So that is the most demanding part of it, and the biggest challenge for me personally, and also for the club. It's not really sustainable, and that's something that we've got to work on.
And how do you see the growth, development in female football, and do you have any plans to help?
Well, this is a very interesting one for us at this club. 3 years ago, we were actually quite big in female football. One of our old technical directors was very much into female football and spent a lot of time growing it. Now, as I came on board, he left, and it's been a challenge to retain the girls that we have. What I feel is that we have too many clubs with a few girls in each club. So, for example, this year we've had a lot of teams where we may have had 6 or 7 females in a team. So we've had to work really hard with about 6 or 7 of our local clubs who are also in a similar situation to say, can you send players to us? Can we send players to them? So I'm not entirely sure what the answer is. I think it's something Football Brisbane probably have to spend a bit of time with, along with Football Queensland. Whether it's something where we have to make certain clubs female clubs so that all the girls know where to go. But then, of course, the challenge that comes with that is if you have any male siblings, do they go to those clubs, and do we then lose them? So it's a real challenge. Everything you read tells you that we have a lot of female players, a lot of female growth, but it's not. I'm not seeing it, certainly not at our club. I'm not seeing it, and from the discussions I've had with some of the other clubs, we're all struggling in a similar way. So it is definitely an area where I think it needs more focus, which I'm sure Football Brisbane and Football Queensland are aware of too.
And what would you do to help improve the game?
Improving games overall, lower fees. I'd love to be able to charge nothing or next to nothing for little ones to play, but unfortunately, it costs a lot of money to run your electricity and the water and everything else that comes with a football club, so we can't do that. And one of the other things that Football Brisbane did last year, which was really, really good, and something that needs to continue, is the Stop the Abuse campaign. I think all clubs are struggling with society. Society seems to believe that parents can abuse referees from the sideline, that they can abuse committees and administrators and players and everything, and it's not acceptable. And I think the Stop the Abuse campaign was really interesting. It was interesting to see people quiet. I'm not sure everybody liked that, but it's definitely something that we need to focus more on and not let drop in the coming years. I think Football Brisbane certainly have taken the lead this year in moving the game forward, in listening to clubs to understand what is working and what isn't working. We delayed some of the starts this year into May to allow clubs to breathe and to get their head above water and not be rushing everything out all at once. So I think they're taking great strides to do that.